Hey everybody, welcome. We're still pushing buttons and not knowing what to do. And so welcome to the Fast Freedom Formula live video on Wednesday. I'm Michael Harris.
I'm James Scott.
I'm Tony Vose.
And we are thrilled that you are participating with us today. Just to give you some kind of like background of what we're doing here. We live in a world, this comes from the Forbes magazine or Forbes.com. We live in a world where individuals and businesses are generally focused on quick fixes and quarterly numbers and the immediate return on investment messages with less than 140 characters. And when the going gets tough, we frequently walk away. Okay, and what we wanted to talk about today is, like, what is tenacity for you, and what are some of the examples that you have about where you succeeded? We all have our stories. James, I'm just going to throw you ahead. I see you got your hair done, so we're going to throw you in the deep end of the pool. What is your definition of tenacity?
My definition of tenacity is quite simple. It is when the chips are down and it seems like everything's against you, even yourself. It's that you just keep going. When I was not so much when I was in the Navy, but and for those of you who don't know, I was in the Navy for 20 years. I had that attitude, but I had not come up with this saying until after I worked for the Navy, which the saying I came up with was you either suck it up and drive on, or pack it up and move on, right? And it's a very simple thing because and if do you want me to share a personal tenacity story real quick?
Live that you would tell us a story.
Well, listen, I had a mini, what they called a mini stroke last year, just a few days over a year ago, right? April 29th of last year, 2021. And that was challenging for me because it was scary, but I was like, you know what, this happened. There was a period of time where I was just like, I wasn't really woe is me, but it was just like, okay, what, how's this going to change my life? How's this? And fortunately it did not affect me in certain ways, but I just had to, there was a point after about 3 or 4 days out of the hospital that I went, well, it is what it is, and I'm going to have to just continue to do what I do. So that and it took a little bit longer than that for me to really get going. But once I did, it was like, all right, well, what do I need to do? How do I need to improve this in my life? So that, I have several other tenacity stories, but that's the one that is recent and one that really has, I think, really contributed to who I am now, today. So.
Outstanding. Tony, how about you? You got a story for us?
Yeah, tenacity. For me, it's a purpose, a drive, an energy, and a deeper knowing. Because otherwise, if you haven't got the tenacity, you don't get anywhere. So we need a direction. We need to know where we're going. The only thing is, I think we need to know why we're doing it as well, and what that tenacity is about. Otherwise, it's going to fall by the wayside. Tenacity, like with James, I tried to play the violin for about 10, 12 years, and I was relentless playing that violin. Every night I played the violin. My fingers would bleed, I would get new bows, a new violin, and I learned to sight read, and I was tenacious. But unfortunately, I didn't really have the talent, but I was tenacious in it. I was relentless. But the skill set wasn't quite there in the end, but there we go.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know. I started out playing the piano, and I decided that I was going to learn the violin. So I already read music, so I just taught myself how to play the violin. And I guess that I was bad enough that my parents like, okay, he's not going to quit. I guess we better get him some lessons. That's cool. All right, I want to pause.
That might have been my downfall, because again, I think we're coming on to something in a minute about working styles and being a bit of an individualist. I try and self-learn. Now, often that works really well, but I'm not so sure with the violin. I'm not so sure with that.
Interestingly enough, we're going to get to that towards the tail end of this video, but I just wanted to show everybody something, because I want you to think about this. I came across this picture on, I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Imgur, Imgur?
Imager, I think.
Imgur, whatever.
I think it's Imager, yeah.
And I want you to look at this thing and like really let that soak in. This is a picture of the Beatles, one of my favorite bands ever. And in 1961, a year and a half before they became the it boys on earth, they played a gig for 18 people. What if they had quit? What if they had just go, you know, I never liked playing with you guys that much. I'm going to go work at whatever the equivalent of Burger King was in 1961. But I mean, think about things that are important to you, because I want to kind of segue in terms of James and I have recently mentioned, you know, different things, and we got some emails that we had gotten, and so I wanted to talk about working styles. Now, the short version is there's 3 major working styles. There's the true independent, okay, and I'm gonna throw my wife under the bus again. Okay, my wife is a true independent worker. If you walk into her office while she's working, make sure that you have a hazmat suit on and perhaps a laser shield, because she's like, and you're slowing her down. That's the definition of somebody who's really independent, is if you're there and you're helping, okay, you're in their way. The second version of working style is proximity. And there are a lot of people who are proximity based. That means that you need a connection to somebody, not necessarily to work together, but to have some type of energetic or conversational connection. A lot of therapists are proximity based, and there's just, you've heard of the Peter principle, where you have a really good worker, maybe he's an excellent salesman, okay, and they decide to promote this guy or this girl into a management position, and they fail miserably. It's because they changed their working style. Okay, and the third version of working styles is collaborative. And James, you know, you said that you were in the Navy. Okay, have you ever seen a bunch of guys that are not team players?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And how long do they last in the armed services?
Not very long. Some of them get drummed out. Some of them get an attitude adjustment and they fall in line.
Yeah. Okay. And you know, I know that you work. I have a keen interest in working with first responders, particularly former service people and stuff. Think about those people that, I mean, I'm in that little age group where I was too young for Vietnam and too old for Desert Storm. I never went. Okay. Yay. Okay. But I have met, yeah, lucky me. But I have met dozens of people, if not hundreds, that were in the service, and when they come out of the service, even if they had a great time in the service, they have difficulty reorienting into society. And it's my opinion, it's because their working style has changed. They no longer have a band of brothers or a team of sisters that they trust with their lives. And
yeah, that's that's an interesting concept. Yeah, because I have realized that not so much for myself, but I do a lot of work with veterans and with first responders, and that is something that you notice, because they come out and there's training, and they try to give you transitional training when you come out of the military. And I've seen it in different branches, and it's different flavor for each service, but it's about the same type of philosophy. And yeah, that's a big thing that they talk about, is you lose that, and I never thought about it as a working style, but that's a very good point that you bring. Us a bit of an aha moment for me, Michael, because it's something that they don't really talk about. And you know, you could have that proximity based or collaborative based working style, but all of a sudden you're on your own, you know, and you're not on your own in terms of, you know, there's still support from VA services and things like that, better services, but now you're like, I had this platoon or this company or whatever of hundreds of people, or fleet or whatever, 100 people that were there for me, even if it was 5 people. Now I've got nobody. I got me, right? And what if you come out of the military and you're trying to transition into a career that works with those skills, and it's just you. It's just you, especially if it's a remote job. It's just you. And that's a really interesting point, that how that can affect a person.
I work with athletes. Oh, I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, a lot of people have an identity issue, don't they, when they come out of services, because it's been part and parcel of who they are. And again, like James, I've never really thought about it in that context, the way you put it forward there, Michael, which is interesting. Because I've always seen it as an identity crisis, really, or not crisis, but a transition.
There could be a crisis. Yeah,
definitely can. And like you said, with footballers over here in good old UK, when they've had the adulation, the money, you know, the life's at their feet, and then they lose their career, they get to a certain age, 34, 35, something like that, come out of football, and they're bereft. They don't know what to do and what their purpose is.
Exactly. Yeah.
The working styles.
So I want to ask you guys 2 questions, and you know, for the rest of the audience as well. Think about this. Tell me, you know, think about something that, you know, it was hard. It was hard to finish. It was hard to learn or hard to complete, but you did it. And and I'll stall while you guys are thinking about that. You know, I do yoga, and literally yoga was like the hardest thing that I had ever learned. You know, yeah, I went to grad school, but that was nothing. Learning yoga was such a beating that I went 36 days in a row. Okay. And the only reason I went is because a guy who used to work for me owned the studio, and he said, you know, try it out. And I'd call him up and tell him how much he sucked. And he's just like, stay with it, stay with it. And like all the way up until the 36th day, it got worse and worse and worse. And I remember sitting in my car, I'm like dripping with sweat. It looked like somebody threw me in the pool. And I'm driving home from my 36th yoga class going, you know what? That sucked less than all of the other 35. And that was like the transition to go on there. But had I been alone, had I not known the instructor, had I not made a commitment to my friend, I probably would have quit.
Yeah.
So instead of one of my greatest victories, it would have been yet another defeat. So now you guys have had time to think it over. So Tony, what's the thing that was really hard, but you did it?
I'm going to go back to the violin, because it's quite easy to think of, because I just did it. So, so even though I'm not a virtuoso, I can, you know, play a tune. I learned to play. I learned music, and you know, it's something I had to do. I wanted to do, so I kept with it. I kept going and going.
Did
so
you take lessons?
The best in the world, but I kept with it, and it was difficult. It was difficult.
These
little fingers at a certain age, they didn't want to do these things.
Did you take lessons?
Yeah.
You did. Okay. And did you get to a point where you can play with other people?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was in a little quartet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And did that make it easier?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
Other times, not so much.
But you got that. You got that little
show, and yeah, it was good. Yeah. I've done, when I've done a lot of studying over the last few years, I've pulled away. I need to get these fingers going again.
But you've got that independent streak
Yeah,
where you're like, I'm going to do this. No,
absolutely.
I don't. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. James.
Sure. The toughest thing probably that I've ever done, that's a real hard question, man, because I've done some tough things in my life. But I would have to say that when I got my cochlear implant, I had a cochlear implant surgery December 22nd, 2016. And after that, for 9 weeks, you can't hear while it's healing. And then when they turn it on, it's different for every person. But for me, everybody sounded like a cross between Donald Duck and Darth Vader. Okay. Literally, that's the only way I can describe it. And I could understand people, but it was weird, you know. And so I had to go through rehab, what they called rehab, right? And I literally had to learn how to hear again, right? And so and you know, because everybody literally sounded exactly the same. Wow, wow, wow. Really, really bizarre, right? And so and I think I may have said Daffy Duck a minute ago. I meant to say Donald Duck. It was Donald Duck and Darth Vader, right? So very hard to understand people. And so, and they would do these I'd go in and do these exercises in person with these people once a week, and they would hold a thing in front of their face, like a hat or something, so I couldn't read their lips. And they would say sentences, and I had to repeat them back exactly. And I never realized how much I was depending on lip reading with my hearing loss, right? Well, anyway, they would send me home with these exercises and said you had to do them. And right from the beginning, I was like, I don't want to do this. This is a pain in the ass. Why do I want to do this at home? And my wife, my lovely wife, said, no, you got to do this. This, you have to do this. And it was really interesting because she made me do it. She did. She made me do it. And I toughed it out and I said, okay. And it sucked. It sucked. And it was a pain in the butt for her because she had, you know, these things took like an hour to do, right? Every single day. And so, but all of a sudden I started to recognize voices on the phone, different people. I started to recognize accents, and it started to come back. And now later today, I realized that that was self-directed neuroplasticity, right? The brain is an amazing thing. And so that's that. And one thing about that is every doctor I've been to, ear, nose, and throat doctor since then, every speech pathologist, whatever, audiologist has said that of all the people they've ever met that have a cochlear implant, I have the best comprehension they have ever seen.
Excellent. You need to send your wife a nice basket of fruit.
Yes. Well,
because what she
likes fruit, but maybe chocolate.
Okay.
You know?
But what she did unintentionally, because I know your proximity as well. Think about, okay, they send you home with these little exercises, okay, but there's nobody there. It ain't happening.
You're right. It ain't. I would not have gone out and found somebody. So
that's one of the things that I want to challenge the listeners is think about the things that you have done. And yes, I'm grateful that you completed, you know, you had a child, or you got married, or you finished university, or whatever it was that you did. But I want you to take a wider view and notice how you did that in terms of working style. Did you have a team or collaboration? Did you have that one person, a friend, a mentor, a family member that was working with you or encouraging you to succeed? Or are you like our buddy Tony and you did that all on your own, which is fine too, okay? But one of the things I want you guys to think about is, what if all these things that you called failures, he'll be back, don't you worry. Hang on a second. Okay, so what if all of these things that you have labeled a failure are not a failure? They're just a mistake that you didn't know what your working style was. And if you did it again in the correct working style, could you succeed? The other thing is that, all of us are hypnotists, so, how many people do we come across, where they come in and they've had a lifetime of people telling them how much they suck, or how stupid they are, or how lazy or unmotivated they are, and they have a whole history and a series of beliefs that they're making meaning of. And what if it was just as simple as evaluating your working style and trying it again? To me, that would be tenacity. Tenacity is the willingness to carry on regardless of the current feedback or lack thereof that you're receiving. So that's all I got for today. How about you guys?
Interesting. Was you going to relay a story, Michael, about tenacity?
I'm sorry?
Was you going to relay a story about someone you knew?
Yes, my cousin. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
I have a cousin who she was that cousin. She was always in trouble. She was always the black sheep of the family. My uncle, I'm pretty sure he thought he was saving bail money instead of college money. Okay? But she did manage to finish college, and then promptly went to work as a manager for a hamburger flipping store. I was like, oh man. And she just kept going along, doing all this stuff. And then one day she meets this fellow. And it just clicks. And they decide that they're going to move out of the town that they were living in Idaho. And they actually had some land by the Snake River. The Snake River it divides Idaho and Oregon. And they did a homestead out there in the middle of freaking nowhere. And slowly they built a house. And then they added to it. And then they had a couple of kids. And then they added to it again. My cousin now has this awesome bed and breakfast that that people pay top dollar to go visit. Wow. And to me, she's like one of my heroes. Is she would not let the current feedback that she was getting, that she's no good, or she's stupid, or she should, oughta, must do, whatever. And she followed her heart. And that to me is the definition of tenacity, is following your heart when everybody else around you is going, quit. And you're like, nope, I can't.
Yeah.
Michael, you had mentioned in the last video we had, or I should say the zero video that we had, right?
Yes.
Video 1.
Video 0.
We talked about state songs, and you had asked me the other day what my Tenacity song is. But before I give you mine, I want to ask you what yours is, and I want to ask Tony what his is.
Okay, I'm going to cheat and ask Tony to go first, and I'm going to think about my Tenacity song.
Oh, thanks, Michael. Tenacity song. I've got one, Stuck on You. There we go.
Okay.
Stuck on You by Lionel Richie.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it. I think I think
that's a good song.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, Michael, what about you?
I'm still mulling. How about Amazing by Aerosmith?
Oh, I love that song. And for anybody who does not know that song, or even if you do know that song, go on YouTube, and you know what? I'll post a link in the group. But there's a video of Steven Tyler singing that song in a rehab. And it's just him and a guy playing piano and a guy playing violin. And it is amazing. And no pun intended. It is probably the best version of that I've ever heard.
Okay.
But you know me, I'm going to give you 3 because I do everything in threes.
You've planned this, James, haven't you?
Yeah. My first one is, and it's so funny because one of my friends and somebody in our group mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and I went, oh, that is my absolute great state song and great Tenacity song is "I'm Still Standing" by Elton John. Great song.
Yeah.
The second one is, and it's like an anthem, is "It's My Life" by Bon Jovi. Great.
Oh, I love
great
that song. Yes.
Drive, great. And then the third one is kind of mellow. And see, I like to give one for every listening style. And I'm not sure if this is the Traveling Wilburys or Tom Petty himself, but "I Won't Back Down" is a great song. And
Tom Petty.
That's a good Tenacity song.
Yes, that is a great Tenacity song.
And all 3 of them have great messages in them, So there you go.
Yeah.
Those are my 3. So
but
if I had to pick one, it would be "I'm Still Standing" because that's just a great song.
Yeah, I'm going to do a teaser for next week. Next Wednesday, fellow listeners, and if you guys ever want to be on the show or whatever it is, just send us a message. But next Wednesday, we're going to be doing a video called "Cherish Your Critics." And I'm going to talk about some interesting things that I have learned, and basically by running a hybrid group. But what we do for a living, we work with people, and we have this amazing ability to be with all of these magnificent human beings, and we get to hear about all of their mistakes, and we don't have to make them. We can just go, oh, okay, you sold drugs to a DEA agent, you went to prison for 10 years. Now your wife divorced you and your kids won't talk to you. Thank you very much for that example that I don't have to do.
Wait a minute, Michael. Did you say cherish your critics?
I did say.
Oh, because I thought you said perish your critics, which I'm okay with, but you said cherish your critics, right?
I'm more with you, James, I think. Yeah, I think we should go for option B.
Outstanding. Okay, so I am going to end the live stream. So thanks everybody for watching.